Um, I'm Dan Paulson. I'm the president of the school board. I call this meeting to order. And I call for the election of a chairperson of the meeting.
I nominate Dan Paulson. I'll second.
Okay, there's been a nomination and a second. All in favor of the nomination, or any other nominations, excuse me. Yes. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Okay.
So I vote to close nominations and cast unanimous ballot for you as chairman of the meeting.
And the motion has been made for a unanimous
I second.
second, and all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, all right. Thank you, I think. All right, appointment of a parliamentarian, and we have Tammy Schneider is agreed to be our parliamentarian. Does anyone have any objections to that? We don't need to vote on that? Okay. And we have tellers, just in case there is a paper ballot. Jamie Krista and Katie Krieger are tellers for tonight. Great. Recognition of current and former board members. Will the current board members please raise your hands? Okay, we have Jim Swanson, Penny Burstead, Dave Steyer, Heather Klanderman, Tanya Hoosby, Thompson, and John Sabota, and Amy Riddle Swanson. Okay. And former board members, I see 1, 2, and 3. I'm not going to introduce you, but thank you for your service. Thank you so much.
Dan, before you move on, it's a tradition of the school district to provide a recognition of former board members the first year they're off the board.
Oh.
So actually, we have Tammy Schneider here and we have Margaret Bryce here. Were there any other former board members other than hers?
Yeah.
Okay, so Urs Haltner, at this time, could you please come down, and we do have a recognition for you. We appreciate you attending the annual meeting. From the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, there's a certificate for hers. It says, in recognition of your service to the children in Wisconsin Public Schools. And then we also have a token of our appreciation as a school district.
Thank you, Urs, and thank you, Tammy, and Margaret, for your service. Presentation of minutes of the last annual meeting. You will find those in your booklet opposite the agenda.
Page 4, Dan.
Page 4. And we want to go through them or ask for a motion to accept them. Please review them. Are there any questions, comments? Hearing none. We will move on. The treasurer's report and audit summary. You will find that in your booklet on page 6. Annual meeting treasurer's report. Dave Seiler is our board treasurer. I won't ask him to read this over, but I will invite you to look it over. And are there any questions? Yes.
This is the question, but I think this looks great. No short-term borrowing was requested for cash flow problems. That's wonderful that you got to that point.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right. Well, at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Joe Jazowski and our superintendent and for the presentation of the budget.
Thanks, Dan. And I'm going to stand here. If anybody has difficulty hearing, please let me know. Leah Feeder, our Director of Business Services, she and I will be presenting the budget today. Before we actually get to the numbers, we'd like to take the opportunity to just share a little information about our great school district that we have in our community. You already were introduced to this year's school board members, so we appreciate the school board members being here. We certainly appreciate all the time and energy put into serving our school district. The mission statement for our school district, you can see it, we're dedicated. You can read it there. Dedicated to preparing all students to become lifelong learners, caring individuals, and responsible citizens. We are in the midst of strategic planning right now, and we're reviewing our mission, reviewing our vision, and we're really looking at creating a strategic plan for the future. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. I already introduced myself, and I already introduced Leah, our Director of Business Services. We're very happy that Leah's here tonight. And in terms of a year in review, 2017-2018 was a wonderful year in the school district. All of our schools met or exceeded expectations on the state accountability report card. We improved compensation systems to better recruit and retain district staff. We provided a ton of professional development with special emphasis on professional learning communities, inclusion, and innovative instruction. Last year, we rolled out our one-to-one empowered learning initiative, which provided Google Chromebooks for all of our students in grades 6 through 12. We had many discussions about inclusion and diversity in our school district and identified ways that we can improve in that area. We had a tremendous year for student athletics and activities, and we had 15 educators attend the National Model Schools Conference. We look forward this year to implementing much of what we learned. Our school board was very busy this past year and held 2 governance retreats and reviewed several policies. Also, from a curriculum standpoint, we adopted new science curriculum resources in our school district. The maintenance and building and grounds department was also very busy. We had several capital improvements. I won't read all of them, but I can tell you that the middle school is in a much better situation with this storm coming in than they would have been at this time last year. We also made several safety improvements in our school, and those are ongoing with the help of a school safety grant. You can see that we have 7 schools in our school district. We also have the Administrative Service Center located on Pine Avenue and the Bjornsson Environmental Center just west of town. Our demographics have remained very stable. We still have over 3,300 students. You can see that we have several administrators in the school district, 231 teachers, 57 paraeducators, and 162 support staff members. As we look to 2018-2019, we're going to have a really busy year. With our strategic plan getting long in the tooth, most of that work was done several years ago. We still have the 6 strategic planning umbrellas, and under those umbrellas, the board approved 37 goals for us to work on this year. So we're quite busy, and a lot of work is going to be done. One of the most significant tasks is creating a new strategic plan. And for anybody who attended the meeting at 5 o'clock tonight, there was an update. But there will be focus group sessions in late October, community sessions for anybody in our community to attend, and there'll also be a digital tool, a survey that will go out, trying to get as much input as possible from our community about what our community would like to see out of our schools. In addition to creating a new strategic plan, we'll also be working with the state and the school safety grant to continue improving security at our schools. We hope to replace the floor in the Menomonie High School Fieldhouse, and we certainly will be working on child mental health and trauma training for our staff. With that being noted, it's now my pleasure to turn over the presentation to Leah Feeder to talk about the 2018-2019 budget.
Welcome. What is a budget? A budget is an estimate, often itemized, of the expected income and expenses for a given period in the future. Our total budget includes several major funding categories. On page 7 of the booklet that we handed out tonight, it explains what all those different funds are. Just to give you a few, the general operation fund is Fund 10, donation fund is 21, special education 27, and so on. It's comprised of hundreds of line items, and the total all funds budget for 2018-19 is anticipated to be $50.8 million. State, Wisconsin statute limits how much revenue may be raised through the operating tax levy and general state aid. Our general state aid and school levy credits have slightly decreased over the past 2 years. And with frozen revenue limits, any changes in state aid generally impact the property tax levy and do not increase the overall revenue. Our per pupil aid for 2018-19 will see an increase of $204 per pupil. So that will raise the total per pupil amount to $654 per pupil. Estimated to be $630 in the 1920 school year, which would be a decrease of $24 per pupil, and it will be the $630 per student each year thereafter. Property values of the school district are used to set the levy for the 2018-19 school year. We, for budgeting purposes, the property values are assumed to remain unchanged. The Wisconsin Department of Revenue sets those property values each fall, so we will revise our levy at that time as those figures are released. So here's a breakdown of the levy. The levy analysis you'll see is comprised of the general fund, debt service fund, and community service fund. So for a total levy in 2017-18, it was $17,237,167, and the estimated preliminary levy for 2018-19 is $17,420,773, or an increase of 0.07%. Here's the tax rate history by mill rate. You'll see over the past 5 years, it's slowly decreased, and we're anticipating just a slight increase in 2018-19. The mill rate's expected to be, estimated to be 9.76%, or 0.11 of an increase over 17-18. Some of the budget adjustments that we took into consideration for 2018-19 are included up here on the presentation. Salary increases were budgeted at 2.13%. Health insurance, an increase of 3%. That's likely to change. Our renewal is in January of each year, so we'll be taking a look at that in the fall as well to see if what sort of increase we'll be looking at, if any. But as far as the budget estimate goes, we budgeted a 3%. Increase in staffing, we included a social worker and a possible youth service officer position. The per pupil state aid increase is factored in. We've talked about strategic planning. Those costs have been factored in. We're going to be scheduling the pool field house floor maintenance replacement this school year, and then we did increase the contingency fund. As far as reductions go, we eliminated the technology print fee. We've also had the completion of the board-approved projects over last year. Probably the biggest that you've seen was at the middle school, the drainage project. If you drove by that over the summer, you saw that. And then the completion of the Wiley grant. That was a state grant that had ended in its, I believe it was a 5-year grant. Our operating budget of revenues and expenses, in comparison from 17-18 to 18-19, you'll see the revenues. We have a change of $540,090 or 1.48% increase, and expenses $636,162 or a 1.75% increase. Here's a pie chart of our 2018-19 operating expenses. You'll see the biggest share of those expenses are salaries and benefits, which includes the transfer to special education, so it includes special education salaries and benefits. That's at 76%. The second largest is 11%, that's for purchase services and communications. And then third is 6% for transportation. The operating revenue, the majority of the biggest share of operating revenue comes from state equalization aid and per pupil aid, and that's anticipated to be 57%. And second is our local property taxes. That makes up 37% of the revenue budget. And then third, our other local fees. Included there are admissions, rentals, fees paid for students participating in different classes and such. Just a brief explanation about what fund balance is. Fund balance is created or increased when revenues exceed expenditures during the fiscal period. Likewise, it decreases when expenditures are greater than revenues. And oftentimes, there's a misconception that it's a cash account. It contains cash, but it's not solely cash, and it does fluctuate throughout the year. It's really your assets minus your liabilities equal your fund balance. And then here's the history, going back the last, 2018-19 school year and back 5 years. You'll see that we have sufficient fund balance so that we no longer need to short-term borrow for cash flow needs. And our general fund balance is projected to remain unchanged for the 18-19 school year. So we're projecting a balanced budget. The Capital Improvement Fund, Fund 46, we had our referendum back in the 13-14 school year. After that, we developed the 30-year plan for those maintenance needs. As we replaced and upgraded equipment and facilities, we needed a plan to afford to, replace those equipment and needs as they wear out. So we created the 30-year plan. And then we established Fund 46 in the 14-15 school year. At the end of 2017-18, our fund balance was $1.63 million, and we're anticipating contributing another $315,000 at the end of the 18-19 school year to fund that capital improvement fund. So then you'll see our anticipated fund balance to be $1.945 million. Post-employment benefits. In addition to funding half of SDMA's employees' state retirement, we also provide local post-employment benefits for most full-time employees, and that includes maybe health insurance premiums, contributions to an HRA account, and cash stipends. And the district over the years has made difficult changes to reduce the OPEB debt and move to a more defined benefit plan versus or a defined benefit plan to a defined contribution plan. And so it's expected that those savings from new hires should be enough to fund the benefits accrued by current retirees. If you take a look at our OPEB liability and fund balance, back in 2009, our liability was $28.9 million, and we had a fund balance of $351,507. On July 1st of 2015, you'll see our liability went down to $14.6 million, and our fund balance is about $2.275 million. We're right in the middle of our current study that will be completed this fall. So I don't have the current liability amount, but our fund balance as of July 1st was $3.347 million. We did make a contribution, an additional contribution of $1.75 million to Fund 73 at the end of 2017-18. That is not included in the fund balance total that you see up here on July 1st. We made that contribution after that date. And then our community service fund. This fund is used to offer additional opportunities to the residents in our school district. And we use this fund for community ed offerings at, say, the pool field house. It includes middle school age activities and athletics, Boys and Girls Club, and then the proposed Community Youth Resource Officer position would also be in that fund if approved. Revenue from Fund 80 is generated from a tax levy outside of the revenue limit. That levy makes up approximately 1% of the total overall levy. And the levy is projected to increase for Fund 80 by $60,000 for the 18-19 school year, and that's to fund that youth services position. It is possible that, if this position isn't filled this year or partway through the year, this levy could very possibly decrease accordingly. There was a deficit spend in the 17-18 school year, which was planned. That deficit spend was $12,786, which is the unaudited balance. And here's just a look at the tax levy history for community service.
Dave is checking on it. Sorry for the interruption. The sirens are for severe thunderstorm warning. Mr. Munoz and Mr. Hunt are monitoring it. If there's any thoughts of a tornado, we'll certainly alert everyone right away where to take safe note.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Let's take a 30-second break here. Let me check.
It decreased. We had a planned deficit spend in Fund 80 in the 17-18 school year. In the 18-19 school year, I have an estimated to increase by that $60,000. It's still anticipated to be a deficit spend, but that's why the increase is on there. It's to include that youth services officer position. And that concludes the presentation for this evening. We will open the floor to questions.
Okay. So just a couple things before we move on. We probably should take our votes and get this done. I want to make sure that everyone understands what we presented tonight is a preliminary budget. There is a ton of information that we still need to get before we can set the final budget. Most of our revenue is dependent on enrollment, and we won't know our enrollment until the third Friday of September. Leah mentioned the property valuation. The state won't certify that until the fall. Same with state aid. So what happens is we ask the community to take a vote tonight on the school tax levy that's presented. The school board ultimately sets the final levy at the end of October during a special school board meeting. But we still would love your input. If there are any questions about the presentation or anything with the budget, now is a wonderful time to do that, but you're also invited to attend the school board meetings. Are there any comments or questions?
Okay, we set a projection for 1920 is $24 less per student, and then it's going to be flat. Is that a state statute, or where are you getting that?
You're talking about the per pupil aid here, Margaret?
No, categorical.
Yeah, this is the per pupil aid that is in state statute, and the way the statute was written, when they start writing the budget for the next biennium, the per pupil aid is actually going to drop. The ceiling was set lower than what we're actually receiving. However, until the legislature actually takes up the budget, we won't know what we're going to get. I would not anticipate at this point that we're actually going to see that cut, but what we're guaranteed by current law would be the $230 per student starting in 1920.
Then another thing you commented on was that with the OPEB going down, that I believe there is not enough for the savings for retiring teachers to cover the cost of replacing retired new teachers. Commented though that 1.75 million was added to that account. We have a few more years where we have to add dollars beyond savings we have for replacing a retired teacher, one new teacher.
Right now, we're projecting that the savings from new hires replacing retired teachers should be enough to fund the plan. However, a financial vision that the board set was to, first of all, make sure that our fund balance was high enough so that we would not have to short-term borrow. Second of all, to pay down our unfunded liability for post-employment benefits. And thirdly, establish a capital improvement fund. So the capital improvement fund and the OPEB fund are the two funds that we continue to work towards putting ourselves in a better financial position. It really depends on what healthcare does.
I know, and it's always scary to predict the future, and it's difficult. You don't want to overcommit because you don't know what's going to be happening next year.
Right.
But that is very encouraging what you've said so far concerning getting a handle on the liability.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Jim?
You mentioned a little bit about Fund 46. We're kind of unique in the state with having one of those. Can you just describe that in more detail to people, sort of, because we talked about it at the school board convention and stuff. Yeah.
I'd be happy to. The school board, Leah and I went to the school board convention last January that was held in Milwaukee. And we actually made a presentation to other school boards around the state about what we're doing with our capital maintenance fund. First of all, the fact that we have a 30-year maintenance plan is quite impressive compared to what most school districts do. Fund 46 is a fund, much like Fund 73, our post-employment fund, where any contributions you make to that fund are shared expenses judged by the state, which means if we put dollars in this year, that counts as spending, so we get state aid on that money the following year. So by putting money in Fund 46, essentially the state is helping share the cost of continuing to keep up our facilities and our other capital items. There's many different rules that go along with it, but essentially what it has is that you have to have a long-term plan, and then after a certain amount of time, the money that you put into that fund can be used for items on that long-term plan that is controlled by the school board. So we are in a very good position. However, we think in projecting our 30-year plan that we need to have about $800,000 per year going towards capital expenses to maintain our current facilities. If we were to add on any facilities or build any more buildings, that amount would increase most likely. Right now, our annual budget is contributing about $300,000 per year I think 315. However, in the event that we have more revenue than expenses in a year, Fund 46 or Fund 73, like we did with the 1.75 million at the end of last budget year, are two great avenues to invest those dollars so that first we can get state aid, but second, we can either pay down debt or save for future expenses that we know we're going to have. Dave?
I just want to add that a lot of this began after our referendum, and we had $36 million when we updated the schools and that. And we have a lot of comments from people that we have extremely good buildings in the district, and that we better maintain them. So that was kind of one of the reasons behind it. We can't even say thank you. She's really big into getting that stuff done. It's fun and all of this.
Thank you, Dave. Any other comments or questions? Yes?
Can I ask, I haven't looked at the website last week, so.
That's fine.
But if this was placed online, what sort of things we need?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. Okay, great, okay, because I looked 2 weeks ago and got the summary, but I didn't have a chance to review it, so it sounded great.
What I can tell you is that there's a few different posting requirements, and the budget itself was posted in accordance with state law. There's 2 separate postings, and not only did we post those using the proper postings in the newspaper, but we also put those postings online. And then in addition to that, we've just uploaded the annual report. That's now available online as well.
Quick
Yes.
question, Joe. Related to Fund 50 with food service, are revenues generated from that program, or do the fees for school meals cover essentially the cost of the meals themselves?
I'll have Leah answer that question.
The revenues for the food service, we do have some revenues coming in from grants and such. Majority comes from student paid meals. We do get funding through the National School Lunch Program. We get some reimbursements there. Free and reduce, we get reimbursements there. We also, we get some equipment grant money that comes in. If there is a deficit in Fund 50 at the end of the year, there is a transfer from Fund 10 into Fund 50 to balance food service out at the end of the year.
Is that generally the case to have a deficit?
Pardon me?
Is there usually a deficit of some sort? Is that normal?
It just depends on the year. The last couple years, last year I believe there was a small deficit. This year we're anticipating a surplus. In the meeting minute, the booklet, we weren't finished with all of the 17-18 audit. It's still unaudited. So in the book it shows, I think it's a $10,000 deficit. It's more than likely going to be a surplus.
Okay.
Last call for questions or comments. Margaret?
So does it go the other way, that if there's more than you need, you can put it into regular operating budget?
No, it is designated for food service to be spent on food service related items. There is, I believe DPI has a guideline, equipment and such that you can earmark to spend that.
So, but if 1 year it does go negative, then you have to take it out of your Fund 10.
Correct.
Is that just a loan and the next year you put it back, or is that gone
No.
permanently?
That's gone permanently.
So you don't want to do that? Okay.
And our food service director, Michelle Closer, has done a terrific job, not only improving the quality of our food and the meals that we serve our students, making them very nutritious and very healthy and tasty, but she has also done a very good job managing her budget. It also needs to be noted, though, that things like retirement benefits and other benefits also have to be calculated into all those figures, and she's done a great job working towards that. Mr. Munoz, anything to report on the weather?
It's going to be good for about 20 minutes and then really bad at 7. But not tornado related, just severe thunderstorm in the morning. So
Thank
It's
you.
not going to end real soon from the radar.
So are there any other questions about the budget? I'm joking, I will stay here I'm not gonna commit anybody else. I will stay here as long as anybody would like. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, Dan, would you like to take back over and we can get some votes taken care of? Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So we are down to number 9, Resolution A, adoption of the tax levy for general debt service and community service funds. The proposed motion that there be levied upon the taxable property of the school district of Menomonie area the sum of $17,420,773 for the operation of school district schools and for the discharge of long-term debt obligations for the 2018-2019 school year. Do I have a motion to accept that resolution? Jim Swanson moves, and Jane seconds that. All right. I'm going to call for a voice vote if anybody objects to that. So, no objections? Okay. All in favor of adopting that resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on. Number 10, Resolution B, authorize annual compensation for the school board of Education members. Proposed motion that members of the school board of education be compensated with the annual salaries as follows: board president $1,000 and all other members $800 each. I have a motion and a second.
So is that a motion by Margaret and a second by Ernst?
Ernst, yes.
Jamie, did you get that?
Yep, she got it.
Right.
Okay. Voice vote, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving on. Resolution C, authorize the reimbursement of travel expenses for the Board of Education members. Proposed motion that the members of the Board of Education be compensated for actual and necessary expenses incurred in the performance of duties. Do I have a motion? So move. Margaret, second. Jane, seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Other new business. Electors attending may request anything to be discussed. Going once? Yes.
As I mentioned in the previous board meeting, I'd like the board to consider a revision to the budget to include more allocation to transportation in the 18-19 school year.
Okay. Yes.
So I'm new to this, and I'm impressed that people are so good with money in our school district, and I'm so glad. I just want to say that, like, if I had a fund for my house, like, we have a fund for our house for, we have to replace the hot water heater or whatever, I think that's really awesome, and it makes me really proud. So, let's shoot that. That's awesome.
And to the response to the transportation, the school board has agreed to look into that, discuss that. So that is on our agenda. Anything else? Hearing none, maybe we can get out between the storms. Entertain a motion to adjourn. David moves. Jim second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very, very much.